Stakeholders in a business. So far, we discussed two different terminologies: stakeholders and the shareholders. Okay, the shareholders were specifically those people who were buying a particular kind of a shares from your organization, while the stakeholder is a broader perspective. Okay, I told you that shareholders can be a stakeholder of your company. Okay, and stakeholders, if we explain them, stakeholder is a broader perspective. We have uh, individual or groups who can affected by and have an interest in by action to take taken by an organization. In easy word, we normally said that the things that affect the company normally known as stakeholders. Stakeholders, it could be individuals or the groups who can be affected by and have an interest in by action taken by an organization, or you can say the people who can affect the organization normally known as stakeholders, or people who take any kind of an interest or who can affect it by the actions of the organizations, they are known as stakeholders. For example, we normally said in the broader perspective we have owners, we have customers, we have supplier, we have employees, governments, etc. Okay, we have a long list of the stakeholders. Let's explain one by one. Let's talk about their roles, their rights, and their responsibility. The responsibility is like you can say uh, it's a kind of a responsibility, but not legally or by law, not not legally binded by any certain specific rules and laws. So this is just a kind of responsibilities to sustain the society. So first one, if you see the diagram, we have number one, we have customers. If we talk about the customers roles, what are the roles of the customer? By the way, their roles is just to buy product and services, provide revenue for the sales, which allow the business to function, to expand its function. In fact, okay, they are the actually player of the market who purchase the goods and services, give something in return in the form of cash, and you can say they are the reasons where our organization can generate the revenue, or you can say that they are the reasons of the expansion of the businesses. So these are particularly the role of the customer. Now let's talk about their rights. What sort of rights they have to receive and good services that meet local laws regarding health and safety and design. Okay, they have a right that whatever the product they are going to buy, um, it should be like to maintain their health. It should be followed by their local laws, rules to make sure and protect their safety. These are their rights. It shouldn't be anything that can harm their uh, health, or that can harm about their safety as well. Okay, so these are their rights. Moreover, if we talk about their rights, whatever the offered, there should be some replacements for them. If is there any fault, or if they don't like anything, then there should be a replacement option for them. For example, if you buy something being a customer, if you don't like, let's say, and if you find any kind of a fault in it, so when you go back to the company or to the firm, they have some replacement option for you. They have some replacement option for you. They have some repairs. If you order something on time, but if you're not getting, then they must have some compensation for you. All these things are known as your rights. Being a customer, these are our rights. Now, what are our responsibilities? We have to be honest. we have to pay for our goods, whatever the things we are going to purchase, or whatever the request we made to purchase our product. Not to steal, not to make a false claim whenever you are going to give the feedback about the product. So you should be an honest, you should give an authentic kind of a feedback to the organization in order to maintain an appropriate product in your organization. Now come on to second stakeholders, we have supplier. If we talk about the roles of the supplier, suppliers normally provide services, or you can say supply the good and services to the businesses, and they utilize these services or the products and make a final product for their customers. If we talk about their rights, once they provide the services, good and services to you, mean from the business point of view, then they should be paid on time and accordingly. Whatever the agreement you made with them, you have to follow that particular agreement and pay them accordingly. So this is one agreement you have to follow, and these are the supplier's rights. Then obviously you have to treat them fairly by the purchasing business. For example, not to have a lower prices, force them by much larger and more powerful customer business. For example, if you have a very strong business, so you can't ask them to give us on the lower price. You just have to be fair with them. Try to give them enough money or the fair money they deserve. So these are their rights as well. We are just talking about a very healthy discussion that it should be like that, it should be like that in a positive senses. The responsibility, obviously, whatever the thing they are going to supply, it should be fair for the business as well. There shouldn't be any harm, there shouldn't be any ingredient that can harm the product, not only the product, but when they will reach to the final customer, it shouldn't harm the customer as well. So you have to provide your ingredients and you have to provide your product and services to the businesses on time. These are the responsibilities which are not legally binded. Keep in mind, this is something ethically we are just talking about. Employees, if we talk about employees, obviously are the main player that works inside the organization. So they provide manual and other labor services in the business, and accordingly they work hard to make a product. So this is something their roles which they play inside the organizations. So what are their rights? Obviously, just like a supplier, you have to, being an organization point of view, you have to treat them fairly. Make sure to pay them enough wages, at least minimal wages of that is already set by the local government. So in the most countries, to be allowed to join the trade union if desired, so you have to give them enough experience so in future they can grow further. So these are their rights. Then from the employees point of view, what are their responsibility? Their responsibility is to be honest, do your task on time with proper honesty, and to the corporation with the management in all reasonable requests to observe the ethical code of conduct. You have to follow all the ethical conduct, the ethical code of conduct which is actually set by your organization. You just have to follow all these ethical practices. Followed all ethical practices. Let's talk about the local community. Local community, another example of the stakeholders. Now, provide the local services and infrastructure to the business to allow it to operate, produce, and sell within the legal limits. If we talk about their rights, so their rights to be consulted about the major changes that affect it. For example, expansions plan or changing method of um, productions. Not have the community lives badly affected by the business activities. So whatever the role they play, it's their rights that it local community shouldn't be affected by any sort of the business activities like the pollution, the waste material, and all the stuff. Their life shouldn't be disturbed from any sort of business activity. If we talk about their responsibilities to, so what should be the responsibility? It to meet the reasonable request from the business for the local services. Obviously, their responsibility for it, such as a public transport, allow staff to get it to work, and waste disposable. It's their responsibility. So whatever you find anything, you have to waste or make sure the waste disposable in the order to maintain the sustainability in the environment. Then the last one we have the governments. It's the second last one. The government, what government do? Government only pass the laws and monitor that what sort of activities the business activities is happening in their countries or in their local areas. Either they are going to achieve the economic stability and encourage the business activities or not. So these are the basically the rules of any government. If we talk about their rights, so government have a rights to to follow the laws which is actually set by the local government. So you have to follow this is the government rights, such as producing only legal goods and pay taxes on time. This is the government rights. And if we talk about the government responsibility, government needs to promote the business, treat the business equally under the law, to establish the good trade links with other countries as well in order to promote the business that is happening domestically and promotes them or encourage them to the at the international level. The last thing, as an stakeholders, we have a lenders. Lenders are those who actually provide the loan services. So provide the finance to the business in the different forms. Again, these are their roles. We have so many stuff like you can say the banks or the other financial institution that gives you the loan facility. Their rights, obviously once you will get the loans you have to pay them on time. So whatever the taxes, whatever the interest they have, you have to pay them on time. So these are their responsibilities. And if we talk about their it's their rights. If we talk about their responsibilities, so provide the agreed amount finance on time. So whatever the promise you make with the organization that on that particular time slot, we will give you or we will provide you a loan. You have to provide this on time. So these are just like few examples of the stakeholders we just discussed, their roles, their responsibilities, and their rights. Let's divide them into two parts. We divide basically stakeholders into two parts. Number one, internal stakeholder. And other one, external stakeholders. If we talk about the internal stakeholders who work within the business, who work within business or own it and are affected by the operation of the businesses, or you can say own it and affected by the operation of the business. While external are individual of the group who are separate from the business, who are separate from businesses but are affected by or have an interest in its operation, but are affected by or interested in its operation, in its operation.